Today on the Extreme Channel, we're going to look at another custom collectible. This is a life-size bust of Woody Harrelson. Or is it? Give me a break. I'm not George Lucas. Or am I? My name's Mr. X. Welcome to my channel. Today we're looking at this custom life-size bust of Carnage. That's right, Carnage is a symbiote. The most common symbiote most people know is Venom. That's right, Venom is one of my favorite characters, and thus Spawn is kind of not really one of my favorite characters, but he's an offshoot of Venom. He's kind of known as the first son of Venom. So what happened in the comics, if you're unfamiliar, Venom is an alien, and it's a symbiote, so it needs a host to live. He attached himself to Spider-Man. That didn't work out. So then he attached himself to Peter Parker's arch enemy, which was Eddie Brock. Then eventually, a bunch of spawns of Venom were born. So they took pieces of the symbiote and they added them to other people. This is Carnage, and this was introduced into a serial killer. And what's really exciting about this piece isn't necessarily the piece itself, which we're going to do a full review on, but the fact that Woody Harrelson is actually playing this character in Venom 2. In the end of Venom 1, they actually teased Woody Harrelson playing Carnage, which everybody got excited for. Carnage is actually a really loved, he's not even a secondary character, but he's even farther down the line than that, but he is actually really loved and sought after. Now, this is a really unique piece. They don't make too many Carnage busts out there. Now, there is one that I'm aware of, and it's actually by Sideshow Collectibles. It's this piece right here. I do like this one quite a bit. I just don't like how small it is. I think it's a little bit underscaled, even though I've never seen it in real life. So a couple years ago, I reached out to a custom manufacturer who actually has done another custom bust for me. It's this Pennywise I've done in this review right here. I reached out to him because he had a Carnage he was doing. Now, when I say custom, I mean that it is an unlicensed piece. And this one, there is no edition size. They were kind of made to order. Cost on him was about $1,100, including shipping to the United States. And the reason I have him on the review table today is, one, I've never reviewed him, and two, I'm probably going to sell him. I'm doing a sell-off video in a couple weeks. I'm on the fence right now. I think I'm going to get rid of him because Spider-Man busts just really aren't in my collection. And you're going to see another Spider-Man related bust that I'm going to review here in the next few days. Now, most of the time, I don't talk about where customs come from because a lot of custom manufacturers don't want their name widespread. They don't really have a problem with sales. This particular one, I'm not going to spread the name because I'm actually having a dispute with the creator right now on another piece that I commissioned over 18 months ago. Unfortunately, communication has been very, very bad, and now with COVID, there's simply no progress. So hopefully, in the end, all of that works out. I'm hopeful, but not confident, as there were issues way before COVID. But let's dive into this guy. We're going to use the extreme scale. Let's start with what we traditionally start with. Let's start with concept of this piece. And by the way, I did just spit everywhere. So on the bottom, they have a black museum-style base, which is nice. You know, you got to put them on something, obviously. And they have a nameplate on the front. We're going to talk more about it in design. I like it when you have a whole line of creatures. Like I have this Carnage, I have a Venom, I have a Spider-Man, and they all have the nameplate on the front. And as you move up, there's two parts of the symbiote with Carnage. One is this black glob that you see, very Venom-like. And it's usually in tendrils and strands all over his body. So I like the fact they incorporated that. And as you move up, you have this red rib texture that is like Carnage's skin. So they included both, and it's only on the front. As we go around the back, you'll see that the back is more of the symbiote black. And you guys know I hate it when they do like a half bust like this, but I think it works well because they incorporated that dripping kind of goo-like black symbiote. Also, as you see, he actually has tentacles or tendrils coming out of him. Carnage is really known for changing his arms into weapons like axes and other stabbing weapons. So I like the fact that they added this. I think this is kind of what puts it over the top, makes it not as boring, where it may beat out the Sideshow Collectibles bust for this reason. Now, also with this, the tendrils, the black tendrils are continually all over this as well, which is very typical of Carnage's body type, which is neat. And as you get to the portrait, I like what they did. So an interesting part, there's a lot of Venom-like features, but what's really unique about Carnage is those black mouth and that black teeth, where you can't really tell if this is a solid material or if it's some of that black symbiote goo. And I think they captured it really well here. And I'm not talking about the paint and sculpt. We'll talk about that differently. but there's some cool texture. I think if they added some moist resin or some resin to kind of do this clear drooling effect, it would have been better, because he is very sadistic. He's a serial killer. He does look very crazy in this, so I think they captured the essence and the evil of Carnage. One of the things, and this is more conceptual even though it involves the paint, I think there's a little bit too much red in the paint of the eyes that takes away from it. He would have been a little cooler if you saw more of the white. But overall, it's a pretty commanding piece, pretty cool. I like the concept of this a lot. I do like the sideshow, like I said, as well, but I think the extra tentacles or tendrils here, turning into the sharp axe weapons, kind of give this the edge. And I think the size of this is a little bit better. I'm going to show you what he looks like compared to the Venom I'm going to review very soon at the end of this video. So overall, I give the concept a 4 out of 5. It's a W. It's a rail. It's not necessarily a grail, but a statue you'd really want. I think they did really well for a bust, even though there's some of the things with design we're going to talk about right now I'm not a fan of. And one of those things, like we talked about, is how it's only half a bust. The newer busts that are coming out, like the Queen Studios Thanos I reviewed, you can check out right here, or any of the Queen Studios pieces, actually are full, complete busts, even though you don't show the back. Now, while most of this is missing, the fact that they had goo coming down, the black symbiote goo, or whatever you want to call it, dripping over the base, neat extra effect they added. Now, these tendrils right here, this is actually 4 different pieces. These tendrils actually key right in. There is a magnet on them, but I don't think it works very well. It's more weight. So this isn't going to fall over just by touching it, but if you're going to move it with ease or remove the tendrils first. They go in very easily. And you want to be careful, as they could scrape the side of it and scrape some of the paint off. Now the other thing with design is right down here. Come on in. Come on, you can do it. So you guys know I hate nameplates unless it matches the entire line. What's great about this is it's magnetized. See that? So that was very smart. I think that's what all companies should do, honestly. Big props to them on design of that. Now with the concept I talked about, a little bit of drool would have been good to give him a little bit more. I think they did a nice job with a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about in paint and sculpt. But really for design, I got to give this a 4 out of 5 as well. I think it's done very, very well. I don't remember the packaging. If I do sell this, I'll probably have to custom package it. I have to go through my Indiana Jones warehouse full of boxes. I already did, and I couldn't find it. And really quick, before I forget, let's get the dimensions on him. So the widest point with the tendrils is about 20.5 inches. The base diameter is about 11. And then the height on him is just under 22.5 or so. Now let's look at the paint and sculpt, and I think, you know, we gave it a 4 and a 4. I think some of the grades are going to go a little bit lower here, but let's take a look. And there is some dust on this because of where I had it stored. It was kind of behind some other pieces in my office, and I just brought it home. But the black museum base looks fine. A few bubbles in the paint, so it's not a perfect paint job. The Carnage sign I like. I like the fact that they added the orange to it. It helps make the statue pop and even the sign pop. The paint isn't done very well. It's layered on there, but that's really when you're looking at it from closer than 12 inches. Farther away than 12 inches, it's fine. Let's look at the black goo, not only how it pools on the base, but as you move up the statue a little bit, there is a little bit of a glistening effect on it, especially when you have some light. I like that a lot. You're going to see a little bit difference in the Venom statue I'm going to do in a few days here, but it looks good. And here's some more shots of it where it overlays the base, and then also where it overlays that red ribbed area, or where it overlays, I don't know what to call this, but I'm going to call it like ribbed. So I don't mean ribs, like, but muscular rib area. I like the striations. Striations, that's the word I'm looking. I really like the striations in here. And again, the paint's very messy. Some big issues with the paint. You can see some bubbles. You can see some non-clean lines between it. But there is some cool shadowing that they added. I like that. But I like the sculpt on this a lot. And one of the things, we didn't really talk about it with the black goo, but you see where some of the black goo is actually coming up. It's raised. So I think that is very cool. It makes it look like it's alive and moving. Well done. Let's look at these tendrils. Again, the paint job's kind of shoddy. I wish they would have made the blades here at the end. They're a little bit plastic looking. I don't know if that's because of the paint. It doesn't have kind of the glistening effect the rest of the body has. If they made it a little bit sharper, I would have liked that, even though that might have been a little too dangerous, so I understand why they avoided that. His portrait, the striations go in all crazy different directions, so I like that it's not uniform and patterned as much as it was in the body. It mixes it up. Let's look at his eyes, and here it's a little bit different. It looks like there's some white mixed in with that red, and it's too much of it. They needed more white. I think that's a little bit of a miss. Maybe the eyes might be a little bit too big, even though Carnage traditionally has big eyes. You can actually check out another review I have of a Carnage 1/4 scale piece right here. Black teeth, I think what they're missing on this is not only a glistening effect for moisture, not only a glistening effect to insinuate saliva, but a glistening effect overall of the symbiote body. It seems like it's a little bit more matte finish than the rest of the black tendrils. But what you can see in here, it's a little dusty, but look at the tongue. Tongue looks great. I love the texture on it. I love the paint. I like that a lot. I think they did really good. And it's little details like that that I think really, really help a bust. So with all that being said, I like the sculpt a lot. The striations here, how the goo's coming over, some of the stuff going on with the tongue, the non-patternized striations on the head. I think the sculpt on the body minus the tendrils is a 4 out of 5. Tendrils take it down a little bit, but I think that's actually an added bonus. Paint's not as good. I think the paint is definitely lacking. Overall, I think the paint's a 2 out of 5. Big miss. It's ugly. So definitely some opportunity. I think a repaint would make this, I don't want to say grail piece, but really, really high sought after piece. So because it's an older piece, we're not going to talk about value, but does this piece have the X factor? Well, before I talk about that, we are almost to our next statue giveaway. On our road to 20,000 subs, we are giving out this Mortal Kombat statue at 12,500 subs. All you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, and you've hit that bell notification, and stay tuned for that giveaway. Also, make sure you comment on this video. Let me know your thoughts about this piece. Let me know the best Carnage piece out there, whether it's a bust or a statue, because commenting gets you entered into the monthly drawing for Xtrizes. But overall, does he have the X factor? He's definitely not a 5 out of 5 statue. I think with paint playing such an important part in this downgrades it quite a bit. So even though the other scores were 4, 4, 4, I'm going to have to give this an overall score of a 3 out of 5, which is still a very good statue. By no means is it bad. I think it's one of the best Carnage busts out there. A repaint would possibly make this the best one out there, although I have seen some other ones teased I cannot share that would replace this awesome. And here's a sneak piece of the next bust review I'm doing. Oh yeah. So here's some close-up video of Carnage, and then we'll wrap it up.
Hey, that's what she said.
I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button. If you didn't like it, go ahead and hit that thumbs down because that helps me too. Click on that Mr. X logo to subscribe so you get a notification of when these reviews come out, or check out some of these other custom pieces. Thanks so much. I will talk to you tomorrow. Until then, take care.